and fuel on tonight's Frontline 3-1. Sorry we're running late. My computer decided last minute I need to do an update. I don't care about you. So unfortunately, here we are. However many minutes late we are. Welcome, one and all. Those watching on Driving with John, those watching on my channel, Trucking City Media, and those looking forward to a grumpy old codger. We are talking again tonight about issues in trucking, issues that the mainstream media will not waste their time on. We provide you with the story, and we also provide you with the ability to debate. You can either prove them wrong or prove me right. Either way, take a moment, become a subscriber, join the fight. We are all about trucking. We are all about making trucking great again. Before we get into tonight's topic and information, I want to just let you guys know I've made many changes to a show you're probably very familiar with. Till now, it's been called Media Matters. I'm rebranding that show, and I'm looking to post daily, and I will be coming back with that shortly after this next coming weekend. So be sure and look for the new show title and the new show. On that, we will not change this show. Frontlines will stay the way it is. Saturday at 11, and of course, Wednesdays at 8. Schedule dependent, of course. I do this in the mobile studio, so a lot of times if I'm a few minutes late, please don't kill me. I also just started Trucking City News on Facebook. I will start streaming this off that Facebook page at the start of the month. Start of June, all these will go from That's Trucking to Trucking City News. Important thing to know. I will continue streaming with John as well, but I will not put Frontlines on That's Trucking after June 1st. Just thought I'd warn you in advance so you've got time to kind of change your shortcuts if you need to, however you find us. I've got everything set up, but after June 1st, we will be streaming on Facebook on Trucking City News page. So go look for it, become a follower, find us there. Right now, I'm ready to go, and I'm not going to keep you waiting any longer. Today's first topic of conversation is a rather unique anecdote. A little bit of a reminder, shall we say. It goes like this. Together or alone. The year 1945. War needs are top priority. Many in trucking saw shortages, true shortages. Amidst the rumble of the engines and the hustle of the busy truck depot, there stood a group of very weary drivers, united by common cause. They had enough of the long hours and meager wages and unsafe work conditions. A little bit of B-roll to go here. One man, Jack, plumber by day, otherwise a seasoned driver with the heart of gold, decided to take a stand. With the help of his fellow drivers, he reached out to the Teamsters, a powerful union with a reputation for standing up to corporate greed. What followed was a story of determination and resilience. Despite facing much resistance, Jack and his comrades rallied support from drivers from across the city taking to the picket lines and demanding fair treatment in the workplace. Their efforts soon caught the attention of the media and the public, shining a spotlight on the plight of the truck drivers everywhere. And in the end, their perseverance paid off. A historic agreement was reached, improving wages, reducing working hours, and implementing safety regulations to protect drivers on the road. And so, in the annals of trucking history, Jack and his fellow drivers were remembered as champions of justice, proving that when ordinary people come together, they can achieve extraordinary things. This is not the story of unions, mind you, but the beginning story of what would become the Jack of all trades. And now you know the rest of that trucking story. Tried timing the B-roll, but miserable fail. I hope you like the story. And it is but a reminder that voices together get more done than voices alone. Let's bring in our guest. One, of course, you're very familiar with, also streaming on his channel, Mr. Emote Man himself, Driving with John. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
Great, great. Glad you could join us tonight, John. How's things in the Driving with John kingdom?
Very good.
Very warm, I understand.
Yeah, but a little steamy here.
Yeah. If you start melting, I won't hold it against you.
I don't melt.
Oh, okay. We'll go on that one later. Let's bring in another guest we have with a common appearance. Looking a little spiffy, I might add, but he's still a grumpy old codger nonetheless. Say hello to the grumpy old trucker.
Hello.
Yeah. Looking a little Kojak there, ain't you?
Mr. Clean.
Mr. Clean. There you go.
I'm gonna rename you the grumpy old bald trucker.
Yeah, the grumpy old bald guy. Yeah.
I see.
The war is on. The war is on. We're going to open up the phone lines for the first story coming up tonight. 860-785-3547. 860-785-3547. If you'd like to add to our conversation or just sound off on anything you hear or see, by all means, call us up. Let us know. If you have ideas for any other stories that you think would be a good fit on this channel, by all means, hit us up at thatstruckingnews@outlook.com. Thatstruckingnews@outlook.com. That's our email address. We are not changing that right now because I don't have a domain yet. That is coming soon. But that's how you can send us links to stories you would like featured, either in my classic way or in a way that allows you to debate and talk about the issues. Let's check the comments real quick here and get caught up on this. Living Homesteadish gives you a $4.99 super chat there, John. Everyone's tip your host and become a member like me. Driving with John is awesome, and sub Truck City too. Thank you for that sub. I appreciate that. And John says, I'm sure. Thank you for the super chat. That certainly helps him out. Let me see. Wow. At you responding. Toga in the audience. Oi, oi. Welcome to you, my friend. You see double streaming. Yes, we do that a lot. And that's basically to benefit multiple audiences. Now, what's better than like one? But two. Huh?
Is that like double dipping?
There you go. There you go. Well, it's just like I highlighted in the story. You know, two heads are better than one. Two voices better than one. You know, and so on and so forth. I mean,
well, that all depends on if the louder voice is correct or not.
Louder voice is correct. Somehow I think you're going somewhere with that, John. Am I supposed to be taken by that? No, that's cool. I like that. No, I think to be more unity. In fact, I just watched a fellow's video. I don't remember his channel, or I'd recommend it. But one of the things, he was complaining about was the fact that everybody's so up in themselves. And I wrote him a comment saying, hey, look, we need to stick together. I mean, it's not like we can protest and do all the, stuff back in the day. We can't. There's too many. We're far too. But we really need to get together on things like what we're talking about tonight, the 3 stories I got highlighted, and other issues. I really think that that will do our industry a lot of good. From either of you two before I move on.
Yeah, I think I just would like to say I agree with you. Supporting each other as truckers would go a long ways, and stop name calling and pointing. And we all do it. Don't get me wrong. Like when we see a trucker do something stupid, we all point and say, "Look, a steering wheel order, or look, it's this, or look, it's that." But
we love
that's no different than when I was growing up. My best friend used to call me derogatory names and punch me in the shoulder, but we were best friends.
Mm-hmm.
You got to realize brothers can be like that towards each other, and it's okay.
Yeah. To be friends is one thing, but to be critical is something completely different. Trying to make sense out of this. Feels like that for sure. I don't know what he was responding to. Olga says, can we make this an 18+ stream? Because also have some jokes in my pocket. I seriously doubt kids under 18 or those under 18 watch this, simply because I have it set in my settings that I don't have stuff suitable for kids. So I don't think we have that to worry about. As long as you keep it YouTube clean and advertiser friendly clean, I have no problem with it.
We could do a different stream some other time with us 3, where we can be more joking around. That's when you want to bring those out, Toga. This is more news centric and more, let's discuss the issues type of thing.
Yeah, I don't mind the occasional break the ice thing, because I even do that myself. But it's to your point, John. Yes, I'd rather stick to the news and keep you guys well entertained and informed at the same time.
The problem with breaking the ice is you end up falling through. But yeah.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, you better be a great swimmer.
Are you right? Kathy Tilley, welcome to the channel. This is almost like sitting at a truck stop roundtable back in the day discussing different topics with trucking. Yes, that's kind of what inspired me to do this.
Amen.
On the debate front, anyway, this is sorely needed. And I'm the
You froze, boss man.
Yeah, I think he was saying that the roundtable is sorely needed.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's because my computer's acting up. So bear with me if that happens again. I'm sorry, folks. I'm not going anywhere, though. But anyway, let me see. Tolga's agreeing with us. Jackknife's in the house. Mean like how trucking and the economy is circling the toilet. Careful there. That's a matter of opinion, and we can certainly make a show out of debating that one, my friend.
How you doing, Jackknife?
And welcome to the show, my friend. God bless you. Says, I think somebody's phone's too close to their mics or one of their wires are loose.
There's a noise. I've been hearing it.
Yeah. I don't have... Hold on a second. Let me check one thing real quick.
There, is that better?
Okay, I don't hear
it no more.
That was me. Sorry. I'm new to doing this on a computer.
Oh, is that what you're doing on a computer? Okay.
I
had
the culprit.
I had it playing on my phone with the volume all the way down so I could watch the comments, but apparently I'm not allowed to do that, so I won't do that again. Sorry about that.
Yeah. No big deal, man. We live and learn.
I know how to drive a truck, but these computers confuse the heck out of me.
Yeah. There you go. We all live and learn.
John, and technology doesn't work.
Yeah, sometimes it don't. Let's get on to the first story. First story is cargo thefts. I've got articles again. They are linked in the description, so by all means look them up if you don't feel like you're getting enough from me personally, but I've got stuff highlighted here. Today we're talking about the concerning trend that's been on the rise, cargo thefts. Cargo thefts in trucking have surged recently since the beginning of the year at a rate of almost 46%. That's just in the first quarter, all right? Criminal activities, including elaborate fraud and identity theft, are on the rise, impacting logistics and transportation. The average stolen shipment was over $281,000 in total, nearly $76 million in declared value just since the start of the year. States like California, Illinois, Texas saw significant spikes. Small appliances, liquor, energy drinks, and copper were the things put in this article told be careful. When you have those shipments, you definitely need to make arrangements and make sure that you have secured load and that you're not subject to theft. All right. Now, looking forward, again, I'm going to bring my guest back up. I'm going to just bounce out a couple of questions and talk generally about this topic. Looking forward, what can we do as a means to protect ourselves and also anticipate stuff like this going on? I mean, we already know about some of the hot spots. At least where I used to live, big hot spots were Memphis, Tennessee, some parts of Nashville. You know, you don't want to do your overnight breaks there, or if you pick up close, you don't want to stick around. And a lot of shippers have policies that say you have to drive at least 4 hours away. So, John, I mean, I don't know how your company is, but in terms of being prepared and thinking ahead, what type of measures do they take in terms of trying to eliminate the possibilities of theft?
Well, it depends on the load. If it's a high value load, you're actually supposed to drive like a certain number of miles after you pick up the load. Because most people telling you aren't going to drive, 200-300 miles before they do something. So if you can stay on the highway and stay moving for 200-300 miles, usually that's one way that they deter. Just good insurance and stay. If anything ever seen suspect, 911 immediately. Stay off of back roads. Stay out of situations where you can be cornered. Honestly, it's just use common sense when you're out there, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Makes sense to me. I agree with you there. Jackknife or Joseph Terrell, another new face in the channel here, sniffing a witch broomstick after a long hot trip. I don't know what he's saying about that, but you're welcome to the channel. Something about Trump will stop this. If he gets there, he probably could. I see we have a Trump supporter. Jackknife says shared. I don't know. Trucking City. Somebody. Oh, when you put up a response in StreamYard, it comes out on all three. I noticed that. Same thing with me when I do that too, because I just happen to notice I typed something. I'm like, no, I did not. No, I know who did. Shame on you.
Sorry.
No. What are your thoughts, Frank? Any companies that you've worked with in the past? I know you're between companies, but what sort of things do come to mind with you in terms of anticipating problems and actually nipping it in the bud before it happens?
Most companies that I've worked for that require us when we're hauling high value loads, usually we end up having to run at least 200 miles before we can stop anywhere. And then once we ran that 200 miles, they want to make sure that we don't communicate anything over a CB radio for sure, what we're hauling. They want to make sure they don't communicate anything really to any of your friends or family over a phone. They want to make sure you're keeping an eye on your mirrors to make sure you're not being followed by suspicious vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
They want to make sure that when you do stop for the night somewhere, that you're in a good, secure, safe location. If there seems to be a way you can back up to a place where the door can't be open, do so. If not, back up to another person that has a trailer that you can back up, butt up against them where they can't get the doors open. There's several things, but by all means, one of the biggest things is buy a good securement lock for your trailer if your company doesn't provide it.
I have a very thick master lock. I mean, this thing is, I mean, barely fits through the hole in the hasp of the door. So A, I use that, and B, my big thing is I generally try not to stay at truck stops. Like right now, I have to because I got a cut tire on the truck, so I have to get the tire fixed. But I'm backed up against the guy behind me, so I'm in reserved, and we're backed up, side to side. Nobody can open either trailer. So to your point, Frank, that's a good thing. Um, how I mean, how good or often do you think? And this one's to you, John, and in the audience, comment down below if you have an answer to this. John, what do you think is the routine, and do you think enough companies offer specific training about prevention and theft? Because I know mine does, and I don't know specifically about yours, but when you're thinking industry wide, you think maybe this is something we need to step up and maybe get a bigger handle on, maybe?
I went through probably 3 or 4 different orientations since I started trucking, and every single one of them pretty much say the same thing. Something along the lines, don't fight back, don't, give them what they want, stay in your truck, call the cops. Like,
Yeah,
they don't really tell you the common sense things I was just saying.
right.
The company I work for now did go a little bit further because the type of freight we haul is a little bit more. Sorry, I am outside, like I said.
That's fine. That's
Somebody's
fine.
got a really revvy car there. So they did tell us that we should drive a certain number of miles after we pick up a load, but other companies I've been with haven't done that. They've just basically said, stay in your truck, let them take whatever they want to take, call 911. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there are other things. I mean, my third question was in reference to proactive measures. I mean, there are things we can try doing before it even comes down to that situation, and proper training should, by rights, touch on it. Now, our orientation for Landstar, if you come on board with Landstar, you've got your own truck, you're under their authority, all that. There is an orientation process, and that orientation process generally lasts about 3 or 4 days. Um, if you've never worked for Landstar, it's usually a little longer. They have a different process they put you through. Um, but I remember when I went through my orientation, we spent an entire day, all right, not the entire day, but actually a good majority of the day just talking about different things, different tools offered by the company, different apps, and different strategies to employ, because there are a number of companies out there that have what's called high value loads. And you remember the list of products, energy drinks, liquor, small appliances, all those things. They are hot items, and they are open for, pillaging if you run into, like, your riot situations or stuff like that. So for sure, you definitely want to try thinking ahead and getting out of the situation before it even starts. Um, Frank, have you noticed anything in terms of that? Any companies you've worked for kind of slack on the training or offered more? What are your thoughts on that? Training's important.
Most of the orientations that I've went through, they talk very little about it unless they do haul a lot of high value cargo. So I mean, it's not a big subject. Yes, we do haul it, and it's been a couple of companies back that was the last one that I actually hauled that was high value, and they really didn't touch much on it except for basically what I said.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Trying to figure out. Don't know what else this Toga says. Trying to figure out the general clash at first. I mean to figure it out again. I don't. If either you two know what that means, okay. That's all I can say.
I just said, let us know your thoughts. Maybe that's what he's saying. Something
Oh, I
along
see.
those lines. But you don't
Okay.
have to be a truck driver, because I know Toga's not a truck driver and he's very loyal to watching our channels. And I
Hmm.
really do appreciate that. You don't have to be a truck
No
driver to
problem.
weigh in, guys. If you
Yeah.
think you have a suggestion on how to protect cargo, how to prevent theft, or
Hmm.
a story about where something happened to you, share it in the comments, guys. We'd really
Yep.
appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean, if you've seen the description, you already pretty much have an idea what the next two stories are going to be on. They're kind of different than the theft. I mean, to me, they're more important, but I step up. I step up with each story, and the best is usually last. So, but speaking of which, let's get on to our next topic. Our next. Oops, wait a minute. I need to switch slides. Too many regulations. Skip, there's too many regulations. We have way too many. Senate Republicans recently challenged the EPA and their latest mandates, including emission standards for both light vehicles and heavy-duty trucks. During a hearing, Senator Cynthia Loomis expressed disappointment with the EPA's approach, arguing that the regulations could lead to increased cost and scarcity for hardworking American families. Republicans are pushing back against these regulations, citing concerns about technological limitations, lack of infrastructure, and the impracticality of electric vehicles, particularly in rural areas like Wyoming. Senator Markwayne Mullen, if I'm reading it right, also criticized EPA's diesel exhaust fluid regulations, highlighting concerns about fuel efficiency and environmental. Well, before I even go further, what is your say so on that topic, my friend? John, you have said a lot, a big mouthful in the past about this. What are your thoughts about A, regulations, and B, this whole infrastructure issue we're talking about?
Well, I have a lot to talk about regulations. I'm not a big fan of most regulations. I believe that if we were hiring more responsibly and training properly, the regulations wouldn't even really need to be there, and I don't think they help anyway. But they do overregulate the trucking industry. I want to mention Toga said, despite the fact that I have a bachelor's degree in logistics management. Oh, see, I thought he was some billionaire trader online. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he can offer a lot. He can offer a lot.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of insight in logistics management that
Dude
goes
is flexing. Dude is flexing in the
goes
comment section. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So,
So definitely keep watching and keep commenting. We will
yeah,
certainly value
definitely.
your
I would say, as regulations go, yeah, and they keep adding more and more and more. You know, speed limiters and different EPA, different regulations, and it's gonna what it's gonna do is it's gonna regulate us out of business. Honestly, that's what it's gonna do. It's gonna make it impossible for the small business truck driver to be able to conduct business because to keep up with those regulations would be too costly, and
What are
that
your
might
thoughts?
even be the motive.
Yeah, what are your thoughts specifically on the push toward electric vehicles when other avenues have yet even been explored? Think about that for a minute. What are your thoughts there? I
What's my
mean,
thought on
we're hell
what?
bent on getting these electric vehicles out. I mean, and no one's looked at anything else.
Oh, there actually are other options out there, which we'll go into in a little bit. I'm pretty sure, but
Yeah.
I will say that if you're pushing a technology that we don't have yet, there's nothing wrong with pushing it, but to make it law that or make it strongly suggested that it needs to happen by a certain time is just foolishness. You know, I think it
I
was
think
California.
personally, the Biden timeline is too unrealistic. And I really do think that besides the senators and the hearings that they're having, I really do think that more people in the industry need to speak up and need to make their voices heard. See, that's kind of what goes hand in hand with the Together and Alone story at the start of this show. We need to actually unite with a purpose, and that purpose being make it known the timeline Biden and his crew or cronies, however you want to put it, have set is way too fast. We, just like John said a minute ago, we don't have everything figured out. We don't have the resources, we don't have the time, and we certainly do not have anywhere near the infrastructure or the money to invest fast enough to get us set up to be all electric. So we're going to talk a minute about alternatives and other ways around it.
Well, the
But
funny,
until we get,
go ahead.
go ahead, John. No, I don't want
I
to
was going
interrupt.
to say the funny thing about setting a deadline is everybody in trucking already knows we're not going to hit it, and when we don't, it's just going to make the people that made that deadline look like they are clueless, and everybody that's been screaming from the mountaintops like us, saying that it's too quick, too soon. It's going to make us look like we actually know what we're talking about. It might be the only thing I know what I'm talking about, but I am right.
Well, and I echo the sentiments the same way you do. Frank, when it comes to electric vehicles, I know you're not a fan, okay, but also, realizing too what I just said is we are not anywhere close to ready, the infrastructure and everything like that. I mean, we're going into the next story on some alternatives. But I mean, have you ever had any thoughts or experiences with maybe even hybrid to really, to offer anything in this argument? I don't want to leave you out because your insight is very valuable to this in terms of, some of the older trucks you drive or used to drive. I mean, I have always been of that mindset. The diesel standard stands, so
What's this used to drive?
well, I'm talking about with, the old job and the stories you've told me.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
yeah.
Well,
But
you know,
yeah,
I had a
how about
conversation with old Tom on Midlife Trucking just the other day about
it?
this issue,
I
and
was
it
trying not
was
to bring that up, but
going
okay.
it was going rather well.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way, Grub Trucker was right in there with it. Is the factor of it is I like the idea of trying out new things. I'm always up to new things as far as saving on fuel, saving money. But at the same time, you got to look at the factor that my point of view is all these resources they're coming out with. As Tom was telling me, they already got a big mine in Arkansas, I believe it is what he told me, that they're going to start mining lithium out of there, and they're going to start producing batteries here in the United States.
Right.
Now, recycling's another thing. That's one of the things we got on too. He's talking about recycling that they've got plants set up in California and some other couple locations.
Right.
I look at it as still yet the infrastructure is still kind of weak. Yes, we have it out there, but it's still weak. So
Right.
and you're going to be draining from places trying to provide this much electricity by trying to hurry up and trying to push issues of this new technology. So I don't believe we're quite ready for it. And myself, I'm all for the hybrid idea, but there again, not many people like the idea because of the stuff that has to go into the hybrids also.
What I don't get is just what I put down at the bottom of the banner: better fuel efficiency versus more electric. I mean, when you put the two together, I mean, to me, it seems like a no-brainer. Okay, because directly underneath me, right here, underneath my headline, right here, regulations could lead to increased cost. Now, think about this for a second. If you're going to make everybody do something that basically involves reinventing the wheel in a very literal sense, you're taking what would be and could be a cost savings. Now, if you run a business, you're all about savings. You want profit and you want savings. So if you've got to buy a $250,000 vehicle and ditch the old standard of diesel and go to electric, first of all, you're going to go out of business. Most people, it's almost same theory as a video I just put out. If you haven't watched the video about trucking dispatchers, I made mention of it. And that's that, what if no, actually it was on World of Trucking. It was my latest vlog. So trucking dispatchers. But I made mention of the fact if nobody's there, how can you regulate an industry that doesn't exist? So I say all this because obviously when it comes down to it, I think the smartest idea is to work with what we got and go for better fuel efficiency rather than the electric supply. And we are happening tonight, my friends. We have got us a debate going on. We have got a couple of guests with us in the house. So let's bring them on. John, I'm going to let you introduce the first one after I introduce our well-known guest. Fate Truckin is in the house. Welcome to you. Welcome to you. Welcome to you. You got something to add to this whole electric versus fuel efficiency thing?
You know, I'm such a hypocrite that, yeah, I have my opinions on it, but it would mean throwing my cell phone out the window. So,
Oh, wow.
wow.
Don't do that. Not until we're not live anymore.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think a lot of people realize what, like, to get these electric batteries, you need cobalt. And I don't know if anybody has ever, like, kind of done a deep dive into the mining that's going on to get cobalt. And it is some of the worst, like things you have seen. You know what I mean? And children dying in these mines and stuff like that. Now, like I said, cobalt's in my cell phone. So I'm okay with owning a cell phone.
It's necessary for electronic components. Scott, hang on one second. We need to introduce one guest backstage. John, is that somebody you're familiar with? You want to take the liberties of introducing him?
I'm actually not sure. I can't see who's backstage. So
okay, well, I'm gonna bring up Jackknife TV. Welcome to the show.
Jackknife, yeah.
Jack.
Yeah, everyone knows who I am.
How you doing, Jackknife?
All right.
It's going off the rails now.
Yeah. My internet signal is kind of flaky, so.
So, Jackknife, what do you think of this, the electric?
Well, to go on what F8 was saying about the cobalt, majority of the cobalt that's mined for these electric electric vehicles aren't coming out of the United States. It's coming out of third world countries where the people are literally treated like dog crap.
Absolutely.
Really,
yeah.
To be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's the old saying, not in my backyard. It's just like the windmills. You go up to upstate New York and everything. There's certain spots where, the windmills would work, but they're not put in because there's certain people that live in those areas that don't want them, and they're not they're not your everyday people. They're your senators, your governors, and your rich.
They can push.
Yeah, they got the money. They got the money, and they got the clout. Yep.
Yeah. So in terms of our argument again with the regulations, which is what this particular story is, how do you think these regulations will affect our industry in terms of being affordable and available, in terms of trucks, the inventory? Right now, something we can work with. So, Fate Truckin', I'll go to you first. I mean, if you have the choice between what you currently work with, 50 mortgage your house or whatever, because I heard you talking today on your live about money. What are you going to do? I mean, obviously, it's a no-brainer, right? I mean, but the regulations are what they are. By 2030, we're going to have to start doing this. What are your thoughts?
I think that's a bunch of hogwash, for one. We don't have the infrastructure to handle that amount of capacity of electric semi trucks. And two, I'll go buy a boat, and instead of living in a van down by the river, I'll live in a boat on the river.
Can I play devil's advocate a little bit? Because I love to do that.
Go ahead, John. You love doing that.
So, not that I disagree with you. I actually agree with you. But if you put charging stations at every shipper and every receiver, the infrastructure no longer really becomes an issue. It's more
does.
It's more the vehicle itself that's the issue.
Well, no, the infrastructure is the issue because the power grid can't handle it.
Can I chime in real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jack.
All right, so I'll give an example. So how GM came out with the new Hummer, the electric Hummer?
No, but that's ridiculous.
Well, anyway, they came out with the electric Hummer, and I forget how many megawatts the battery consumes for power or whatnot. It's something phenomenal. I would say it's probably on this. It's probably the same par as what a semi truck would possibly use, or maybe double or triple what a semi truck would use.
I think
And
I think the max time frame they got on that thing was 8 hours. I don't know about the range, but I don't think it's anywhere near a semi truck.
well, anywho, the Chevy dealership down around by where I live ended up actually offering a few of these Hummers, and the big problem is they can't charge it. All right, they
No.
literally have like a main thoroughfare through the back of the dealership that's pretty much line power, actual towers that go by, and they can't tap into those.
No.
They actually had to add diesel generators to charge these Hummers. So yeah.
Now
So
think about that. Think about that for just a sec. Yeah, think about that. They're trying to get away from fossil fuels. So what do? Charge your electric truck using a diesel generator.
yeah, they actually installed like a Caterpillar. I don't know what it was, but it was like at least a 2,800 megawatt or something generator, a big generator in the back of the dealership, and they run the wires from the back to the front, so you don't know it's there, and they charge the Hummers in the front. Yeah.
You can always tell. Toga has a great comment. The next one that's coming up. You can always tell when our government actually believes in what they believe in because they don't put their money where their mouth is.
Well, they should just let private.
You're not going to see an e-Hummer in a battlefield anytime soon.
No,
for sure.
you won't. Exactly.
They should just let private industry sort this out. If anybody's going to innovate faster and better than the government, which hell, a 5-year-old could innovate faster and better than the government.
And
it's going to be private industry.
Yeah, that's where everything has always been innovated is from private industry. It's never from the government.
Look at Toyota right now. They're backing away from electric cars and going full on hybrid.
Right. Yeah. To say I agree with you, it would be an understatement. Because I'll tell you something. I mean, when it comes down to what's possible versus what's being thought of, yeah, we need some more time to work this out, but none of these regulators want to actually do that. So,
there is a hybrid type truck because I've seen it on a site that I follow, and it uses a diesel engine to generate the electricity for the truck, which they use in the logging industry. And it kind of surprised me as well. I'm thinking,
what you're talking about is virtually the same thing all the train engines do. What the train engines do, they run on diesel, run generators, and power electric motors on the wheels, the drive wheels. So really, it's an option, but it's added cost. There's no real benefit to be received anywhere in that because you're still burning fossil fuel. You're still commanding an electric engine.
You want another gem?
Hold on. There is a benefit.
To what degree?
There's 100% a benefit.
In what degree?
For the company.
For the stock options?
For just think of like the tax breaks they probably receive from the government for doing what they're doing.
The only tax break you're getting is if you're the dude that designs the electric engines that receive the charge from the diesel engines that power it. There ain't nobody else benefit.
Well, all you have to do is look at Lordstown.
The government operates the freaking the railroad. We just witnessed that. So like if Burlington Northern or whatever decides to buy these locomotives, you better believe they're getting something in return. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. I mean, they're smart. Exactly. They're smart enough to know it doesn't make sense.
Yep. To go back to the electric engine there, you know how they're charging these electric engines too?
How's that doing that?
They're plugging them up to the other diesel hybrid engines and charging the full battery. Yeah, they're using them like a battery pack, I guess, right now. But to me, it still seems you're still back at square one.
I think. Okay, I was just gonna say, I think the next logical step in trucking would be a hybrid truck. Not like that already exists, but I mean at a much larger scale because it does work for cars.
Story 3, don't jump the gun. Any last thoughts? And I'm gonna leave it with this because given what we've seen, both in terms of regulations and what's coming, how do you guys think, if nothing changes, the industry fares? Do you think that currently, the way things are running now, the industry suffers, or do you think that it's going to improve in any way, shape, or form? What say you, grumpy old trucker?
Well, I look at it this way. It's probably going to be similar to how like PepsiCo Frito-Lay is doing whenever they're using these electric trucks. It's going to be start out. They're probably going to start just kind of a lease program, lease it from the company producing it,
Yeah.
and then move up from there because the cost is just too much to buy them outright.
Yeah, it's just too much. Yeah. What about you, John? Quick answer. Better, or do you think it suffers?
I think it suffers.
Yeah. What about you, Fate?
It suffers.
Yeah. Jackknife, what say you?
In terms of electrification, I'm going to say it's going to be. You think the not the ELD. You think the emissions mandate that was rolled out was horrific. Wait until they roll this out. It's going to be 10 times worse.
Yep.
It's you know.
Yeah, I think it suffers. I think
The reality is if what you're kind of saying happens by 2030, I mean, it's the death of owner operators. It's death of small business in trucking.
Yep.
That's all it is. All the mega carriers, all the big guys, it'll be normal. They'll just switch all their trucks to that stuff. And
I have a feeling for the mega carriers, it might be like the Max Force engine.
Are you kidding me? I mean, Max Force, it's so unreliable. Oh my God. I got no love for that Max Force engine. Jesus.
It could easily collapse the economy, to be honest with you.
I do. I do agree. Let me move on to the third story, which kind of is part and parcel to what we're talking about now. And this one has to deal with renewables. The story in, I believe it was, I'm going to look to be sure. I think it was Overdrive. Yes, story in Overdrive. Renewable Fuels, American Transportation Research Institute. I'm not going to try the acronyms. I fail every time. Recently released a report advocating for renewable diesel as a key solution to reduce CO2 emissions. Unlike batteries or electric vehicles, renewable diesel requires no modifications to existing diesel trucks and offers comparable performance. ATRI's research found that diesel could decrease the life cycle of CO2 emissions by up to almost 2/3, 67.3% compared to traditional diesel. Owner-operators like Bill, I'm not even going to try his last name, have already adopted it, and he's experiencing no changes in his performance. There's a fellow featured in the story. So he talks about it. While California pushes for zero emissions trucks, renewable diesel presents a more practical option for reducing emissions without sacrificing operational capabilities. Now, prices right now are in flux. It's hard to say what's going to happen, but they're working out the refining, and it's becoming competitive with petroleum diesel, and increasing the production is key. The widespread adoption of renewable diesel could revolutionize the industry, offering a feasible path and an alternative, just as John and I were talking moments back, to emissions reduction without the limitations of the electric vehicle mandate. If we can just get enough people together talking about this issue and this benefit highlighted in this story, I think we would go somewhere. So the first question I have up is, what are the environmental benefits of using renewable diesel over traditional diesel? Do any of you guys know anything about it? And have you heard or seen any of the research?
Yeah,
Frank?
it smells like French fries.
It's kind of like vegetable oil, honestly. Yeah.
I will say honestly, I have zero knowledge on this, but from reading that story, they very carefully, artistically put certain words in certain places on purpose. When you read an article, I don't always read an article the way it reads. I always read What could
Are
they
you
say? Or
talking-
what they didn't say?
1 second. Are you talking about the overdrive story, which I'm assuming you've already read, or are
The
you
story-
talking about what I just
The one that you're
said?
just talking about now. So the one that you're talking about now, they kept talking about it hasn't affected performance, hasn't
Mhm.
affected performance, hasn't. So in other words, they're getting the same amount of horsepower. But my question is, how many miles per gallon? How many times are they filling up? And is that fuel going to be any cheaper? Heck no.
From what I've seen and what I read in the article, there was no decrease in mileage or in overall performance. Now, nothing was specified.
Well, that can't be true.
That can't be true.
That can't be true.
Well, and
That
why do you
can't be
say that,
true.
Fred?
Well,
It's-
Why do you say that?
besides the
'cause it-
fact. Go on,
Fate
go on,
first.
Fate.
Hang on, Fate first. Why do you say that, Scott?
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
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 go.
I can hear you. Yeah, go ahead. Why you say that?
Anytime you are refining something more, you're adding more chemicals to it. The chemicals
Mm-hmm.
are going to burn hotter. It's just like E85, less ethanol in a gasoline engine. You get
Yep.
Yeah, but
you're
we're not
going to
talking
get
about ethanol.
no, but you're talking about petroleum freaking diesel fuel. Look at like biodiesel, right? Like has anybody bought fuel from Quick Trip with a K and experienced decrease in fuel economy? I have.
What they're talking
Because
about is a different grade. What they're talking about is they clearly made mention of the fact, Fate, that there's a biodiesel, but then there's also this renewable diesel that they're coming up with. So I'm guessing
which
there's
has to
two
have
different products.
additives in it. It
So
has
they're-
to.
Well,
So
they have to
they're
have
saying it's
additives for petroleum
so-
products too. So
So they're
Jack,
saying
I-
it's so they're saying it's comparable to a biodiesel, not comparable to regular diesel.
exactly, yes,
Okay.
comparable to bio. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
Again, read
It's
between
an
the lines.
alternative. It's an alternative to petroleum products, but not a.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's comparable. Yeah.
I guess
So-
my only question would be, obviously I'm not an engineer, but they're engineering it to work in like my regular diesel motor then,
Yeah.
which I would still think it would have to burn hot, which means you're going to get less fuel economy.
Well, then you may have to change possibly the kind of oil you run through. I mean, I don't know how many people run synthetic versus non-synthetic. So, I mean, if it's a question of running hotter, I mean, who knows until they finalize this whole thing. But the idea I was getting from the article when I read it and summarized it is that it is comparable to bio, but an alternative to petroleum. And mind you, the core thing they're looking at is the byproduct of the burn afterwards. Because right now you got to put DEF in there. You got to reduce nitrous oxide. You've got to, do all these chemical changes in your exhaust before it even comes out the tailpipe, according to EPA. Wouldn't it be nice to burn a type of fuel where less of that has to go on, less modifications are necessary to the engine, and yeah, it may burn a little different, and it may be a little bit of a different experience with the engine. But if it doesn't kill your engine like ethanol does, I'm all for it. Let's say
it's a lot of-
Well, this
let Jackknife in on this one.
Well,
Let's say
this is almost like the same thing that F8 was saying earlier about companies just coming up with a design or a product or some kind of solution and then marketing it to investors or to the government for funding. Like you're only going to get in the same amount of energy that you put into a product as the same amount of energy you're going to get out. So if at the end, if it still somehow pollutes, you think the EPA, do you think that the carb or whatnot are still going to approve the product?
right.
They would rather not have any emissions at all, whatever that means to them. Because technically, if you're digging up cobalt and everything else and lithium, you're basically just moving your carbon footprint, that they call it, from one, from the front room to the back room. That's all they're really
Pretty much,
doing.
yeah. Because
All that
currently
really
what they're
matters
trying
is
to
where
do
the
is
money's
regulate
coming
it so that you have to receive the byproduct long after it's already. They're going to have to burn coal, they're going to have to burn diesel, and they're going to have to generate that electric power somehow. So as you said, the footprint's just going to be set somewhere else. That's all.
Because either way, even doing biodiesel, there's certain manufacturing processes that are involved, certain chemicals that are, you just don't. They aren't talking about that manufacturing process or those chemicals.
Right
okay,
now.
they're
Yeah.
still, and not only that, it also puts a huge strain on the farming community. Not the farming community, but I guess you want to say the farming markets per
Mhm.
se, because now what you'll do is you'll have all the farmers switch over to corn, or I don't know. I guess algae. They might be using algae or whatnot for some of this
There's
renewable
different
diesel
ways
or
of
whatnot.
making it. Yeah.
And
Yeah. I don't think it's strictly
now you're changing another market. Yeah, and it's going to cause other problems down the road and everything else. It's like this. It's like if we all got together and we just decided, we say, add water to your diesel, all right, which we all know that don't work. But if we could freaking get away with BS and everyone for a year about adding water to your diesel and get contracts from the government and investors, we could easily walk out of this. Even after it fails, after a year or two, we could easily walk out with, I don't know, a cool 50 million a piece or 150 million a piece or whatever. It's the same. It's the same. But look at Lordstown, the racket that went on with Lordstown for how long?
Oh yeah. Oh
you
yeah.
know,
And they're still going through that. That stuff hadn't ended yet either.
it's the same thing with this so-called biodiesel. They're just moving the pollutants to a different spot of the manufacturing process.
So in
Yeah,
terms of go ahead, Frank.
Just don't hate on young
well,
blood.
one of the things I'm seeing here, and I understand all this nice technology coming up with moving on with the cleaner and beautifuler, America. How about these other countries? I mean, the world don't just stay right here in America. We've got all this pollution moving back over here from other parts of the United States, or not United States, but other countries.
Yeah.
And they don't have all these EPA mandates and all that crap over there. So their air is coming right back. It's just going in a big circle around and around and around. The only thing that's going to help anything is more trees and, less stuff that's going to make it worse. But tearing down our trees and stuff is what's causing most of this pollution.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not a tree hugger. I'm just saying.
You can't make money off of that though. You can't go into the CCP's pockets and pull money from there for that.
I just want to understand this. So what you're saying, Bill Trucker, is that we all share the same air? We don't have our own air here in America that it combines with other countries?
Yeah, I think that's what I'm trying to get at.
So let me say something here. This isn't playing devil's advocate. This is kind of like what I talked about in my live. And by no means am I suggesting that we do everything. Now I'm probably a little bit more left leaning than most people on this panel. And I love the outdoors. I used to hunt. I'm big into fishing. So conservation and stuff like that is important to me. I don't think it's a problem when a country says we want to do better. They're looking in the mirror and pointing a finger back at themselves. We can't worry about what India, what China, what these other countries do. I think if we're trying to make,
we can't hold a finger up to them because they've got a completely different circumstance than we do.
But like I said, I'm not saying we should move to all these like zero emissions in the next 8 years. I mean, that's
not to turn political
fate. You would kill millions. You would kill millions if they did that in those third world countries.
Not to turn this conversation political fate, but when I heard about everybody raising such a stink about the Paris Accord, my first thought was just what you're talking about right now. I mean, how is it we have to hold up everybody else's standards and accountabilities when we can hardly manage our own, much less, China, Indonesia, Malaysia, Nigeria, and all these other countries that are part of this global thing? Wait a minute. Let's focus on us. Let's let them focus on them. Let's focus on us. And personally, I think we're taking on too much. We have been for too long, and this is the result. This is what's come from it.
Well, yeah, we're not getting political, but
no,
we had a president when he left office say the exact things that have happened. The reason we stick our nose in everything is because of the military industrial complex. We turn the machine on and we're never going to turn it off. We didn't expect other countries, other bigger countries, to kind of take footnotes of what we did and now have implemented it into their like economy. You know what I mean? I'm talking about China, of course. Well, you can talk about China and Russia, but you know, I mean, that's why we get involved into things. I mean,
Yes,
you know, it generates wealth. I mean, let's be honest. It generates.
and that right there is 99% of the entire argument in of itself. So, I mean, that's the whole reason why all of these innovations and all of these technological advances are being made in the first place. It's making someone money, but when it comes to trucking, it's costing us dearly. So
Yeah.
that's
Well,
kind of one of the reasons why I started to show off with the story I did, because you know what? Some point the industry itself has to say, whoa, enough's enough, man. We can't keep going like this. We need a break. We need a standard by which to stay with. Otherwise, we won't have enough.
Well, let's put our money where our mouth is. I mean, honestly, if the biggest worry is the environment or whatever we're discussing right now, then why aren't we looking more into hybrids for semis? Why aren't more trucks using the natural gas trucks like UPS does? Why aren't we investing more in that kind of stuff first? And hopefully it'll lead us somewhere else. But put your money where your mouth is. Don't
I agree.
Stop trying to put the cart before the horse.
I totally agree with you, John.
Yeah, this whole electrification thing is exactly just in that arena. It's somebody put their money there, and we need other options, because obviously from everything I've seen and we just talked about here, it's going to take way too long, and I think there'll be far too negative an impact on this industry just trying to do that. So what you say is right. They need to put their money where their mouth is. Start looking at options and start looking at ways to do it that make sense.
It's those solutions are already out there though. That hybrid, the natural gas and whatnot.
Not on the mass market.
Well, it's out there, but the problem is you can't start a new company that's already in a market that's already tight like that. That's already has competition. So you come up with a new idea, you throw the new idea out there, you get tons of investors, you get the government on board, and hey, you know, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, you still come out of it a multi-million or billionaire, you know.
Well,
I mean, look at the gas.
There's nobody holding anybody accountable. Exactly. Like, look at Nikola. Nikola's still technically got. I mean, he's gonna get a slap on the wrist and spend time in white collar prison for a little bit, and he'll be out.
Right. Same thing with SBF. Yep. Same thing. Yep. All right, let's go around the table.
He'll still be a multi-millionaire.
Yeah. Let's go around the table. Any last thoughts? Renewable diesel, time. Frank, what do you think?
Well, you know, like said, renewable diesel, I mean, we got that already in the works as it is, because we've been using biodiesel, very similar.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a factor of like a video I just watched the other day. You know, we can take all of the old plastics and you can recycle just plastics themselves and turn back into fuels for cars and for trucks and all that. So, I mean, it's just a factor of it is, instead of our government spending all these billions of dollars on silly things, if they're really that big into it, send the money to people here in the United States, get the technology going more, and get it going to where it's worth having if they're wanting it so badly, because they're the ones pushing the issue.
Right. Exactly. John, wait a minute. I'll get to you in a second. Jackknife, you got any last thoughts on that?
Well, it's definitely a more straightforward approach, I guess. It's not going to, entail a major how can you put it, a major strain on the economy to switch over to biodiesel, or per se, or this new form of biodiesel. We already have the infrastructure in place and everything. It's the real big thing is we're getting it past, CARB and the EPA, and whether or not they'll even listen to that approach, which they probably won't.
Yeah.
There's too much money involved.
Fate, what say you? We need more time. Do you think the money's too deep? What do you think?
Well, I really kind of agree with what Jackknife just said and Grumpy Old Trucker, but I want to be clear here. The government has put their money where their mouth is.
Oh yeah.
When it comes to electrification of these vehicles, Tesla, who this is such a crazy world we live in, doesn't get invited to like the EV summits at the White House, but our government has given Tesla more money than like any other company. Yeah, so the government has kind of put their money where their mouth is. They've invested their money in Tesla to develop what they want.
Yeah, but you also have to remember he's also got that darn Starship crap going on, so their money's being split between two things.
That's actually a complete separate entity. That's almost been bankrupt multiple times, and that's not
money. It's still money though,
but it's not. It's not technically government grants.
I'm just
still innovation.
So
it is indeed.
It's I miss the days when I could climb into a truck and smell the diesel burning and grab my 13-speed or 18-speed truck.
Exactly.
The thing is this industry is all about change and innovation, and we either adapt or we die. It's that simple.
Or both.
Pretty much. Yep. Or both, as he says. John, last thoughts?
Yes. Actually, I didn't have this much to say until just a couple seconds ago. But let me mention with Tesla, for example. Yes, they've gotten a boatload of money from the government. They're also the only, last I knew, unless it's changed now, which if it is, I apologize, but I don't think it has. Tesla is the only company that's paid back all the grants and then some to the government.
Yes.
No other EV company has done that yet, other than them. Yeah. But beyond that, that I don't even think that's the point. They put their money where their mouth is because they want everything electrified. What I meant is put your money where your mouth is as finding alternatives to get us through, as to bridge us to that point, because we're not there yet, and we're not going to be there for a while. So how about we find something that will bridge us to that point to help us get there? Because what we're doing now is actually going to kill the small trucker. Eventually, with all the regulations and the biodiesels and all this extra stuff is going to kill the small trucker, and that's what we don't want. But one last thing. This is what I was actually going to say before that guy down there went off. So I'm actually not even going to talk about the biodiesels. When you guys are watching the propaganda machine that is our government and our media and everything that's on all the different social medias, they're pushing an agenda. So when you see something like I'm just going to use this as an example, I'm not bad mouthing them, as a Tesla passing a long-nosed Pete going up a mountain, and everybody's like, oh, look at that. You got to realize that's a PR video. That's a video made to make Teslas look better. That's the point of that video. Oh, okay. They're trying to sell you
Tesla.
Hang on.
Tesla's
so when you're reading an article, don't just read the words. Read what they're not saying. That's more important than what they are saying. That's my last thought.
Yep. Good enough. What you're going to challenge that, Fate? Go ahead, man. I'll give you a few minutes.
Wasn't going to challenge it, but but you read the specifications of those electric semi trucks, and their torque is 5 times the amount of torque I have in my Cummins. So it passing that long hood Pete up a mountain is 100% accurate. I mean, electric vehicles I'm not promoting electric vehicles, but like next
you're
time you're
telling me-
around a Tesla or around some